Welcome to the Full Nelson. Today I want to talk about built ARs versus bought ARs. I have seen some videos come out recently, I guess, that have kind of inspired this video from tactical instructors and stuff like that who talk about you should just go out and buy an AR that works and, just stick with that, as opposed to, building an AR yourself. And I guess to some degree I kind of agree with it. I built ARs with the parts kits and everything. I've also bought ARs. My theory, or the way I approach it, is that I think you should buy an AR or buy uppers and lowers that are already assembled most of the time, just because it's just as cheap as building it yourself nowadays in many cases. But from there is kind of where I differ with in my opinion, compared to a lot of these other guys who are talking about, just buy the one that works and leave it that way. I have read on forums over the years, guys will say, yeah, you don't want to take a saw to this, and you don't want to Dremel that, and you don't want to do this, and you don't want to mess with any of that stuff, because you'll find you'll have ruined a perfectly good gun, and you'll regret doing that. Well, let me tell you something. I'm one of these guys who, when I see something and I don't like the way it is, I'm going to make it the way I want it to be. And what I have gained over the years by doing that is, yeah, I've had some guns that I have ruined in the process, or not necessarily made, the best way that you would want it to be. Whether it's altering rifle stocks on certain rifles or all kinds of things. I've done a lot of experimentation, but I have learned a ton in the process. And let me tell you something, I know what works now and what doesn't. I know what I like now and what I don't. And when I buy a rifle, I turn around and heavily modify it to make it what I want it to be. A lot of these other people will settle. Well, I don't like the trigger, but, I'm not going to change the trigger myself. I don't like the brake that it's got, or the standard A2 birdcage, but, I'm not going to put a brake on it myself, because I'm one of those guys that just doesn't mess with anything the way it is, even if it comes in a configuration that I don't like. I have not found any company that generally makes AR-15s the way I like them from the factory at a price that I think is reasonable. So one of the things I demand in my AR-15s is a decent trigger. I generally run Geisley triggers in all of my AR-15s, whether it's two-stage triggers or whether it's their rapid-fire type trigger that I have in this AR pistol. I absolutely demand a high-quality trigger. I've seen really expensive ARs that come with a piece of garbage mil-spec AR trigger. That's not acceptable to me. So one of the first things I do with whatever AR I buy is I know the trigger is going to get swapped out. Now, you can get a Geisley in some factory rifles, but generally those rifles are well over $1,000. Why would I do that when I can buy a decent AR-15 at $400 and $400, $500, still 70, 75 T6 aluminum for the uppers and lowers, put in a nice Geisley trigger myself, pick out the exact barrel I want, swap the barrel out of it, or buy an upper that already has the barrel I want, put my own Raptor charging handle on them that I always put. I generally put these battery assist levers that a lot of people hate, but I love them. I put those on almost everything. They run great. I haven't had any issues with them that some of the other people describe that they've had with theirs. In other words, I take these things and do exactly what I want to them by the time I'm finished. These uppers are a good example. They started out life with the standard M4 barrel, both of them. I do not like the standard M4 profile barrel. I can't wrap my head around why anybody likes a standard M4 profile barrel. Either go with a medium contour for the full length, go with a heavy contour, or go with a lightweight pencil barrel, which is what I happen to prefer. But why you would go with an M4 profile barrel that's actually basically as thin as a lightweight barrel in some places, and then it, is a thicker contour, and there's this extra added weight that there's just no reason for, makes zero sense in my mind. So I swap the barrels out on most of my ARs because not too many people sell them with a lightweight barrel from the factory at a reasonable price. Bravo Company Manufacturing and some other companies will sell ARs, uppers, and stuff that already have a lightweight barrel on them, but generally they're charging a ridiculous amount of money, in my opinion. I can build the same thing for substantially less money and, do all the other stuff I want to it. So basically I start with a $400 gun. By the time I'm done, if you get these triggers on sale, the G2S, the G2SE trigger, this isn't a rapid fire trigger, that's right. This is the G2SE trigger, and this is a G2B. I can't remember. It's like their cheaper version of their rapid fire trigger. I own some of their more expensive. They're high-speed national match triggers, and my brother has one of their SSAE triggers. The G2SE trigger is virtually the same as the SSAE. The pull, I cannot tell a difference between running either one of them. It's the same thing between the SSA and the and the G2S trigger. Virtually the same trigger pull. I think it's their rapid fire or their 3-gunner. I can't remember what it's called, but this one I have in here, man, what is that called? G2B something. I can't remember what it is. But you can get them, Brownell sells them when they have sales on them, $130. And it has the exact same trigger pull as like what their $200 trigger has. The installation's a bit more, takes a little bit more, but it's like if you can learn how to just use a punch. Okay, a punch is basically just a thin piece of metal that you shove through to put these pins in, and you can watch a video. You can install the trigger yourself in short order. And once you start to learn how to do that stuff, you'll stop settling for whatever it is the market, whatever the company wants to provide with you, and you will start buying ARs and making them exactly what you want. And you'll start doing that with a lot of different firearms. Whether it's shotguns or anything, you buy them and it's like, well, it doesn't really have this feature, that feature that I want. Once you learn how to do that stuff, you're going to stop settling for what's available, and you're going to start building exactly what you want. I have found, in my opinion, not only will you have better satisfaction, but if you're having a problem with the rifle, rather than, oh, well, I don't know how to do anything, I guess I'll just send it back to the manufacturer. I'm a helpless person who can't even change, a basic part on my automobile or on my gun. You'll actually have the know-how to do a lot of that stuff yourself, and I think that is a very worthwhile pursuit. So learn how to... If you don't want to learn how to build them completely from scratch, that's fine. I don't think that's totally necessary. You can buy already assembled lowers and uppers, but don't hesitate to change the things on it you don't like. Whether it's the barrel, the brakes, the triggers, the charging handles, anything on them you don't like, the furniture, the pistol grip, the buttstock. There's no reason why we should be paying some of these companies $1,500 for ARs that have some of those components we want, when we can go out and buy an AR for $400 or $500 and turn it into one of those ARs at a fraction of the price. Again, by the time I'm done with some of these builds, you're talking $130 to $150 to swap out the trigger. Brakes are dirt cheap. You can buy muzzle brakes on eBay that are super effective like these, every bit as effective as companies that are charging $200 or $300 for a muzzle brake. These are every bit as effective as those, and they can be had for $15 or $20. Okay, your furniture on here, to be able to swap off, the buttstock on here, you can buy one of those for Magpul for $40 or $50. These companies will mark up features like that 3 times or 4 times what it costs in order to swap a part off. I can just show you how freaking easy this is. You have to have tough hands or shove something in there, but you grab this pistol grip here and it pushes this pin. I can grab this thing with my bare hands and pull it off like that. Wow, that's real hard, isn't it? So you pull off your old one, get your new one, grab the pin, little bit of force, there you go. Wow, I just saved myself, I paid $40 or $50 for this buttstock on here instead of paying some other company that only will have standard mil-spec stuff on theirs, and in order to do this, they're going to charge you $100 or $150 for a part that's $50 and takes you literally 2 seconds to slide on and off your buffer tube. Okay, muzzle brake, you unthread that, you get a decent crush washer, feed something through, especially on these brakes that have great big ports, slide a screwdriver through there, spin the thing around until you're starting to hit the crush washer. Once it starts compressing the crush washer, you just need to know the appropriate amount of tension of how much torque you can get a crush washer, which is like, I can't remember, 3/4 of a turn. So start crushing the crush washer, look down the thing, of course make sure the gun's unloaded and make sure it's indexed properly to where your top ports line up properly with your gas tube and all that type of stuff. Simple stuff. I mean, trigger, same type of thing. Trigger takes a little bit more effort, but it's not that difficult. Charging handle, of course, is just a matter if you can take your AR apart, you can swap the charging handle out. Anyway, build your guns the way you like them, customize them the way you like them. These guys, it's got to be stock. It's got to be stock. Nonsense. Make it the way you want it. Make it work for you. Okay? It's not going to be the same for every person. That's my suggestion. That's my opinion on the matter. So I built a lot of them. I bought a lot of them, and that's where I'm at now. And I no turning back for me now. I will always take mine and customize them exactly the way I want them. That way, when I grab any one of my, half a dozen AR-15s or whatever, they're all going to feel the same. They're going to have the same. If I set them up with a battery assist device, if I set them up with this type of charging handle, certain type of muzzle brake, they are going to respond and act the same. That's the way I prefer to do things. So that's my rant on building AR-15s or highly customizing AR-15s versus buying an AR-15 and just leaving it plain Jane and bone stock. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. If you have any comments, feel free to leave those below. See ya.